Paltrocast.
Aside from talking to me, good day for you so far?
Yeah, so far so good. I got a workout in, and I had some dental surgery on Friday, but that seems to be going. Brush and floss, kids. Brush and floss.
Well, on a brighter note, 15th record from Blues Traveler, Traveler's Soul. When did you actually finish it?
We finished Traveler's Soul this February, March. We did it down in Nashville, where we did Traveler's Blues, which was our Grammy-nominated previous record. So we had always wanted to do a blues record because we were Blues Traveler, and everyone's like, "But you don't really play blues." I mean, so it was always a thought, and then COVID hit, and we had just done a originals record. Hurry Up and Hang Around. So we weren't emotionally ready to, we had to do something. We were chomping at the bit. We always said it took a global pandemic to keep us off the road, but
right.
And we did kind of enjoy the downtime, but we were chomping to do something. So this blues record came to pass. And at first it was just kind of like a side project, a couple songs. We had so much fun and learned so much digging into these great songs. And then it got a great response. And we thought we'd carry it on and go to our other kind of foundational music, which was R&B and soul. And, to be honest, I think John's naturally more in an R&B kind of singer anyway. So his voice just sounds amazing on these tracks. And it's, when we do them, we learn so much, breaking down all these great songs and seeing how the instrumentation is and the arrangements are and the different decisions these great artists from the past did it. So honestly, it's as fun for us, and we learn as much doing it as hopefully people enjoy it too.
Well, in line with what you're saying, if I can give you the first of a few compliments here,
please.
A lot
I
of
love
it,
that.
The album is just not really risk taking, and then the live shows where the risk taking is at. And
For
Blue
sure.
Traveler has been doing both the album and the tour risk taking for decades. And by that I mean, yes, there's this soul record, there's the blues record you were just talking about. I remember 10 years or so when I was working at Viacom, there was that duets record, your appropriate take on Supernatural by Carlos Santana. That's how I read the whole thing. And you were going way outside of the genres. So where this is going compliment wise is a lot of bands would go, well, look at the number of records we sold with 4. Let's do that again and again and again and again. But Blues Traveler has been about taking chances. When did you kind of realize that you were your own cottage industry, independent of top 40 and it's independent of trying to have hits?
I mean, it's funny, early days, and I mean, we were always trying to get stuff on the radio. But we were, we're such a kind of an eclectic blend of influences. We always joked we kind of fit in no category, or we fit in every category. And or even early on, in our early days, we would try and do covers, and they would never sound anything like, we just couldn't do it. So it's one of our blessings. But as far as taking chances, I think for us, and part of, people ask how we stayed around and stayed kind of vibrant and engaged artistically and musically and just, in the process. Sometimes you got to just get outside the box, so that you can get back in and come at it with a little different perspective. So we've always been very interested in that. And but it's not, we don't really plan this stuff out. It's more like these opportunities present themselves and we're like, oh, that sounds fun. Let's give it a whirl and not worry so much about the result, And to be honest, like when 4 hit and we had all that top 40 commercial success, that was as surprising and unexpected as anything. I mean, we certainly, we knew there were some great songs on there, but we had great songs on past records, and we've had great songs since. The fates just conspired. So to kind of try and cater for radio or for a market, we can't do it. And I don't know if that's ever going to do it. I think you need to kind of follow what's true to you guys and yourselves. and just try different stuff. I mean, it's a long road, so who knows? You know, when you take a left turn that maybe doesn't work out, maybe that sets up the next thing. You know.
In the four era, you guys were known for playing 3-hour live shows regularly. These days, is that post COVID, is that still the case when it's not a private gig or a corporate gig?
Well, you know, we try and keep it. It's more like 2 hours now, to be honest. And I think a lot of that honestly has to do with John. I mean, John's a very gymnastic, intense singer, and when you're younger, you can get away with just destroying that voice on a nightly basis. He's not like some kind of more jam bands that play that long aren't really doing a ton of really intense singing, and John just belts it. So, and we're kind of intense. We're kind of in an in your face type of playing style. So 2 hours seems to be the right time. I mean, I play with some side bands and I'll play for 3 hours, but I'm not singing, you know. Singing's rough, especially as you get older. You need to keep that focused. You really do.
Right. So one of the other amazing things to me about Blues Travelers, how I would say by about 15 years, you preceded the festival about me kind of phenomenon of bands that, for example, when Weezer has their own cruise and Slipknot has their own cruise, the H.O.R.D.E tour was basically that way before the whole thing. But with a lot of the tours that took off around the time of H.O.R.D.E tour, they all came back for a nostalgic reunion kind of thing. Were there ever talks of doing another H.O.R.D.E tour? Because in the case of H.O.R.D.E tour, look at the careers that you launched in the process of that or helped launch, like Ben Folds, etc.
Ben Folds, Dave Matthews, Widespread Panic, Fish, and I wouldn't necessarily say H.O.R.D.E definitely. I always say H.O.R.D.E was more of like a celebration of that scene, especially from back then, than it was launching. But it's amazing the success and, you know, all those bands that kind of came through that early 90s, very diverse kind of musical background. So many cool different kinds of bands.
Soul Coughing and Cake Like, and yeah, I'm doing the job.
Yeah,
I'm putting you over.
It's endless. So to be honest, it was really an honor to be a part of that and kind of be the ombudsman. I just wanted to say that in podcast through that whole era, which we were right in the middle of. But as far as bringing it back, where people talk about it all the time, but it sounds like a huge hassle. And as glorious as H.O.R.D.E was, it was a lot of work for us. And I think at some points it kind of distracted us from just being Blues Traveler. But, you know, I'll take those distractions.
Oh, so it was a case where it wasn't just a figurehead that you were headlining your own festival. You actually were working on logistics of it too, it sounds like.
For sure. I mean, our management, it was kind of our brainchild. And we went to the other bands in the early H.O.R.D.E days and got them on board, which it wouldn't have happened without them. So we definitely, you know, in those early years had a lot to do with making them happen.
Wow. Well, another reason why Blues Traveler has always been around my life is the long-term affiliation you had with Howard Stern. Howard usually liked bands for one album, 2 albums max. You know, Howard loved Enough's Enough, and he kind of forgot about them pretty quickly. And if you looked at, you played his birthday party, and then years later you did the song with Beetlejuice, etc. And you even survived the Chris Robinson feud of
that was great.
In that era. Any idea if you're going to get on the Howard Stern junket?
We'd love to. Listen, for us, that was such a thrill. The times we were on it for probably a decade or so, we were on a bunch. We grew up in Princeton, New Jersey. So we grew up listening to Howard Stern on WNBC.
You know, I see what you did there.
And so, I mean, and then when he moved over to, I guess, K-Rock, and then all like on terrestrial straight up radio, we grew up with Howard. And so we were huge fans way before the rest of the country ever even heard of him.
Yeah.
So for us to be on Howard, and it was similar with David Letterman, you know, we grew up watching him late night, and then we were in New York, and next thing you know, we're on David Letterman. So Howard Stern and David Letterman were kind of like our idols. So that was huge for us. So we would love to get back on Howard, Blast from the Past. So if you know anyone, I have a feeling it'll happen. We're still on good terms with everyone. Just hasn't really fallen into place lately.
If not, you can do Stuttering John's podcast and I'll connect you. But anyway,
boom, make the connection.
Back to you. So you have the side bands. Blues Traveler seems to have an album every 2 years or so, endless touring, etc. Is there any downtime for you? Because you're one of those
certainly. Yeah, there is. I mean, so I'm joking, because I had young children, but they're grown up now. My party days are behind me. And I was like, God, I have so much free time now. I need a hobby. So I started thinking to myself, what do I like to do? And I was like, well, I like playing guitar in a rock band. So I do, in my downtime here in Los Angeles, play in a new band we started called W4RHORS3. So that's, but I mean, I'll sit in with people. I mean, as you get older, I kind of simplify my life. And I know this is similar with the other guys in Blues Traveler, to the things that really, bring you joy. And playing music is such a blessing and something I enjoy more as I get older, and I'm more grateful for. So I try and focus on that, and my kids, even though they're grown and out the house almost.
Got it. So is W4RHORS3, what kind of venue circuit is it on in Los Angeles? For example, is it a baked potato band?
I love the baked potato. Good call. And I go there to see some homies. We just played the Mint, and we're playing the Mint again on December 7th. W4RHORS3, W4RHORS3. Check us out on IG. Well, I have a rule. This is the rule. The great thing about starting a new band is it reminds you of back like basement days when we started out Blues Traveler. And me and Bobby Sheehan, our dearly departed original bass player, we had a rule when we were out and about New York back in the late 80s that people needed to know the name of our band and when our next gig was within the first 5 minutes of meeting them. So it's been 12 minutes, so I was a little slow, but I got the plug in. Honestly, it's just good fun, and it makes me appreciate playing. And I know this is the fact with the other guys, and John does side projects and everything. Sure. It makes us appreciate what Blues Traveler is all the more to try some other things and get a fresh head about it. And also, it's just so great to be in a band with great fans and a catalog and a history and the relationships we have from 35 years. That's pretty special. So there's room for all of that. So I just play as much as possible.
The part that you mentioned about getting the name of the band and the gig out within 12 minutes or so, that sounds like a very LA Sunset Strip late 80s kind of thing. The people on
that was the New York City street corner. We would go out there and we'd make these little gigs at a glance, we called them.
Yeah.
And hand them out, and on the back would have all our gigs. We were playing around New York, and everywhere we went, we walked around with a pocket full of those, and people would get them. So maybe I should make some more gigs at a glance. It's online gigs at a glance now.
Well, make sure you own the domain of that too.
I do. I have it.
Well,
it's so DIY. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Punk rock for your own good.
I get to set up my own gear and book my own gigs, write my own songs, work on my singing. It's fun.
The craft. What can we say? So you mentioned Princeton, New Jersey, and my wife's originally from the Jersey Shore, and
right on.
Associate Blues Traveler with the Princeton, Red Bank kind of area. Jersey Shore is an hour or less from all that. Was the Jersey Shore an important part of Blues Traveler's early gigging?
Oh, it certainly was. Well, I'm not gigging so much, but a couple of the guys, Bobby and our original, this is in high school, our original tour manager, David Brashear, who we were all high school buddies, parents had a house down there. So we would go down there on weekends and throw keg parties on the beach houses in the back, or on the sand, or to go down there and rehearse for the weekend. So we wrote a lot of music at the shore, had a lot of gigs. When we lived in New York City, when things would get kind of hazy, hot, and humid on a long summer, we'd bolt and go down to the shore and escape with some friends. So, I mean, when you grow up in New Jersey, the shore is part of your DNA. That's your a release valve. So everyone who's from New Jersey is fond memories of the shore. There's so many great beaches all up and down it.
Do you recall which beach, if it was Sleeside or Point
Love
Pleasant?
Ladies and Island Beach State Park, but Love Ladies was and Ocean City down around there. Yeah,
nice. Well,
down around there.
Two self-indulgent questions, and then I'll let you run free. And the first one is, you mentioned the backyard parties. Was that any of your Van Halen influence, knowing to do the backyard parties?
I mean, that's a great story because I'm from Los Angeles, so I know all about the Van Halen Pasadena epic parties. And ours were, it was pretty similar. We were 18, 17, so no one would give us a gig at a bar. Well, a few bars did, and then they were like, you guys are all underage. Right. As a matter of fact, we moved to New York. We were all around 18, 17, and 18. So we played from 18 to 21. We were playing all these little Lower East Side bars. But back in the late 80s, the Lower East Side, no one gave a bleep. But before that, in high school, and even after, we would throw parties in backyards because we didn't have any other gigs, and we all went to keg parties, so you might as well have a band there. As a matter of fact, in Princeton, New Jersey, our senior year, we played so many keg parties, the cops would wait to hear the music and then just bust the party because they knew there was going to be mayhem there. So we were busted all over town, and then we put the gear together and just out of spite, drive somewhere else and start another keg party on the same night. So those were fun times, tough kids from Princeton, New Jersey. We weren't going to take it from the man.
And then the last question I have, again, weaving together, hey, the 15th album, Traveler's Soul, always touring, the side projects, etc. Is there anything you haven't yet accomplished in your music career that you're still working towards? I don't think there is a definitive yes, because I go down the list and I go, every talk show you were on at some point that mattered.
Honestly, it is true, and that's why when people ask, why, are you gonna ever get off the road? And I'm like, why would I want to do that? Don't make me. I worked my whole life to get this, nice situation. And we've been lucky enough to do a lot of really cool stuff. All the, checklist stuff, sold out Madison Square Garden, Saturday Night Live, all that stuff. But the thing you're most proud about is the 35 years of longevity, that we're still playing good music. We still get along great. We're still being creative. So, really, to keep that going for many more years is the goal at this point. And so far, so good.
So I'm looking forward to those 16th, 17th, and 18th albums, the War Horse with a 4, all that, Chan. Well, thank you so much
for your brother.
Thank you for the many years of great music, and really looking forward to whatever's next.
You rock. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like it. And I will see you down the line, brother.
Paltrocast.